All right, welcome to another episode of the Growth Insider. I'm super excited to have the CEO of Cloud Control and LowTouch AI on today. Do you want to start by just giving a little bit of a background into what you do and what the companies do?
Thanks, Austin. Thanks for having me. LowTouch AI is it's an agentic AI platform that enables our customers to create digital workers. Right? You start with a digital intern. That's how we usually pitch. You start by defining a job description, and then you train the agent from an MVP all the way to production ready by conversation. So that's how we train our agents, and that's what we do primarily with LowTouch.AI.
Okay, nice. What is there's a lot of like buzz with this sort of technology. But last time we spoke before, recording this session, like you were telling me a lot about, I don't want to call it real AI versus not AI, but it kind of is in that categorization where a lot of businesses are just barely getting their feet wet with what's possible when it comes to the agentic workflows and different things that you can build out. So, do you want to touch on that a little bit? Like, why, like, what should business owners or entrepreneurs and founders know about implementing like real enterprise grade automation and AI into their business?
The way we started, right? That's the good place to start, right? Um, so when we started talking to our CTOs around, what their target is and what they want to achieve during the next year, a lot of them came back and said, "Hey, we want to get into AI. We have to do something because there is the pressure, peer pressure, as well as management pressure on adopting AI because we are seeing a lot of buzz, right?" So with my application development, enterprise architecture experience, I thought I'll take a look at this and realized immediately that the models are becoming the operating system, and on top of that, you're writing applications. Back then, we used to write applications or even today, you write applications using Node.js and Python. Now here, you're going to write using AI. On top of AI, you create agents. Agents are nothing but applications, but agents run on models, and models are the operating system. So when it comes to agentic applications, the primary difference is it is goal oriented. So when traditionally what we do is we understand the requirement, we code using the favorite language of the developer or the customer, and get to a point where you go through your requirements, you do the analysis, code it, test it, release it. Now with agentic AI, you're basically telling the agent, "Hey, here is my problem. Here is the ecosystem in which you're going to live in. Here are the policies and compliance guidelines. Based on this, figure out a solution." And agents can do that. Now, how does it do it? It basically uses the LLM to do that, right? So so just like the way you are chatting with ChatGPT or say Perplexity, its agent is taking your role or the role you're assigning to it and figuring it out just like the way you would, and it's automatically doing it. So it creates this autonomous workflows, and then you basically chat with it or test it. So there has to be a means to test the agent's performance. So in a real world, if you want to roll it out, what you do is you create these agents, it figures out how to solve things, and then you give it a kind of a test task or a task to kind of try this out, and then based on the outcome you fine tune it. Right. Now, the key here is you're leveraging the LLM, and you're basically giving the role to the agent to come up with a solution. And then you look at that and see, hey, what kind of changes you need to do to the way you solved it, right, in achieving the goal.
Yeah, before we dive in a little bit deeper on like your specific businesses that you're building out, I do want to touch on that because a lot of people listening, founders, executives, investors, like I'm still not sure if anyone has any clue what's possible with with I won't even say the enterprise grade AI. I know last time we were just speaking about like N8N, very simple workflows that you can build out in your business. We recently hired like an AI engineer just focused on that, and most of the daily tasks that you're doing, even as like a founder or as a CEO, are can literally be removed from your plate completely, which is crazy. And I think that like a lot of businesses are completely unaware of the possibilities. So I'm curious, like some of the use cases that you've seen so far, do you have like an example or two that you could share of just something really interesting that you've been able to completely like automate or nearly automate in a client's business using some of this agentic AI?
Yeah, I can take a couple of examples on based on what we have implemented so far, right? So the way you want to look at the right place to start is by looking at a broken process. Let's say you have a process in place, maybe using multiple tools, where you think some efficiency would have been good, right? That's or that's the other way I pitch is you have 10 employees or a 10-member team. You want the 11th person, and you really don't want to go there because of whatever reason, right? Because there are constraints. So now you want to say, okay, if I were to hire the 11th person, what would that 11th person do, right? That becomes the job description of your agent. So that means, given the ecosystem of tools that you are living in, you want to think of agent as the 11th employee or 11th team member who's going to come in. You are going to basically think of it as a digital intern coming in and figure out where the pain point is and figure out, okay, here is the role. Now, an agentic platform can help you build that agent. Now, and then train the agent, fine tune it, and then it's going to help you uh, do tasks, maybe one-time task, periodic task you basically assign to that agent. Now, once the agent is trained, you can repeat. The agent can keep repeatedly doing the same thing at a schedule, maybe on an event, or maybe even when I say event, like an email coming in, or a file coming in, or a market event. So it can actually schedule things and start processing it all on its own, right? Now, I've seen a lot of examples, but I'll take a couple of examples. Number one, invoice processing. So this we ran into this. I didn't know about. I mean, I was not in that area before. I never came across that use case before. But apparently, there are a lot of issues with invoice processing. That's one of the largest use cases that we're working on right now, where hundreds of invoices comes in. They are in different formats. Some people even the way they format it, because most of the invoices are branded, and there are some large enterprises, super large enterprises, have systems that you need to submit it to in a particular format. But majority of the businesses receive their invoice in the format the vendor supplies it, right? The vendor formats it and sends it. Now you have to match the purchase order. You have to match all the SKUs under it. Now, there are BPO services that are doing this with and without RPA, but a good chunk of them always goes into exception because the systems cannot process it because something was missing, something was. Now, with AI, you can reduce the number of exceptions like 95%. That's huge, right? Now, even the cost of per invoice processing can be reduced 50-60%. That's huge. Now, how are we achieving that? The AI, by looking at, for example, if you take an example of OpenAI, you can attach a screenshot. It will read stuff from the screenshot and figure out and let you answer, get you some answers, right? For example, the other day I was at the oil changing station. I didn't know what oil change to pick. I kind of knew, but then I thought, okay, let's test OpenAI, right? I took a picture of their sign, sent it to Grok. Grok told me exactly which one to use, and the second and third items, what the benefits are based on the car make. It kind of even gave reviews of similar cars going through that service. So Now, all this is possible because the AI is smart enough. The models are now getting really, really smart in understanding images, understanding handwritten notes, understanding screenshots. It's not doesn't have to be structured at all, right? It can figure it out. Now, an RPA system traditionally needs structure uh, to to some extent, or most of the time, when there is unstructured, it there are exceptions. It cannot process it properly. Now, with AI, we are able to process much more and reduce the number of exceptions really, really low to a lower number. Now, another example is where you so let's say you have a back office, right? And so recently we did this, where in back office you have if you look at like all e-commerce sites behind the scenes, like for example, let's say you have an Etsy store, small 15, 16 member team, you're shipping things out. Now there's a lot of manual work involved in managing the inventory, managing the vendor management process, the supply chain for even small businesses, right? Now you can hire an agentic intern to process, reorder, look at keeping the inventory, reordering the inventory, taking reviews, and figuring out how the sentiment was of a customer, things like that. You can assign digital workers to do that, rather than your team will be more working on the things that need their attention in terms of the core business. Then you can have these digital assistants helping you behind the scenes and support them.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's like there's so many opportunities, but the benefit or the thing you need to do as a founder is really get specific on defining what the outcome is, because I think that's where a lot of people fall off, is just wanting to implement all this technology but not really having like a clear input and output or a clear system or reason behind it. And you can easily get tripped up. So I guess moving a little bit towards like your companies, I'm curious with Low Touch AI. Tell me a little bit more about like some of the customers that you guys have coming on using the platform, and um, aside from the use cases, like as a business, where do you guys stand right now, and what stage are you in?
So we started, or we launched the product in January, and it took us about almost a year to get to that point. So the way we started is we looked at some of the use cases coming from our customers, and the most or the first set of use cases that came in mostly were infrastructure related, because we are in the cloud world, right? So there are SRE tasks. SRE is site reliability engineering, which is kind of cloud ops, right, in a very advanced form. A lot of infrastructure today, whether it be it cloud, on-prem, multi-cloud, there's a lot of engineers managing that. Ops, cloud SecOps, right? So if you look at them, they are following a set of guidelines and making sure that you follow those guidelines to set up the infrastructure and watch it and make sure that it stays in compliance, right? So perfect job for an agent. So we started building these agents. So we have an SRE agent monitoring multiple accounts, where it is looking at how did we do last week versus the week before, and figure out, okay, what is different, right? Why is it different? And now let's say there is a downtime or a slowness in an application. It figures out automatically, what happened, what errors were there during the time, and it troubleshoots and tells me. For example, our SRE agent can figure out errors in the logs and do the research and figure out why it is down. It also knows, it can go and look at the code and kind of suggest, okay, these might be the areas that you want to look at, right? So that's an SRE agent. Now we also developed a FinOps agent. So we had customers, want to optimize their infrastructure to lower the cloud cost or cloud bill. We have FinOps agents that are looking at the actual bill and the pricing information and special offers and the last 1 month or 2 months of performance data, usage data, and figure out hey, these are the areas where you can optimize to get, say, cost savings. So that's a FinOps agent, right? Now, so now we have developed probably close to 30 different agents, both for us as well as for our customers. In about, so it's now 6 months since the launch. We have 30 plus agents running in production that is doing different aspects of our own business, which is SRE, and also customers, where we recently deployed an agent where it is actually doing QA testing. It writes QA test cases looking at the specifications and runs the test and produces a result.
It's funny how you talk about this stuff so casually, but like this results in millions of dollars in savings or like revenue generation for companies depending on their size. So I just want to note that for people listening. Um, so what's kind of the goal now? Like you have 30 agents kind of deployed and testing on the platform, using them for customers. What's the vision for Low Touch AI?
So right now we want to acquire more customers. So the idea is to get more, educate, be in the market as a thought leader. So what we have done is there are it's a new area. There are different ways to get to create agents, right? What we did is we looked at the market and we saw that everyone has a kind of drag and drop. You have to kind of put everything together. So we thought, hey, we started all this with OpenAI giving us a chat interface, conversational interface. So we thought, why not use that, right? Hey, explain the problem. You create a kind of MVP, get the agent up and running within few days. Then let the end user, whoever is going to manage that agent, chat with it and figure out what need to be done, right? So iterate fast, or you can say fail fast, and that is the approach we took. We talk to the agent to figure out how it's doing, and retrain as it goes, and by through instructions, through conversation, as well as through instructions in YAML files that you can deploy. So it's like agent as code. That's what we do, right? So it's basically putting everything together, but the code is not in any programming language; it's in English. So basically saying, this is what I need. It's here is your role. This is what you have access to. This is the goal I want to achieve. You figure it out, right? Now, when you figure it out, how the way you fix it and the way you train is through conversation. And so that's a different approach. I think there are not many vendors that are doing that. All of them are using either pre-built agents or agents you can drag and drop and create a workflow, right? So here we are using conversation, we are doing that.
Okay, very nice. So it's actually super usable for like anyone who's non-technical as well. Yeah, and that's very powerful. Like any platform that's too complex, it's like there is this disconnect between, technical users in a business versus like what maybe the executives or leadership team like wants to get out of using that tech. So the more platforms and technology that we can build that are a little bit more like that chat interface or something similar that mirrors being able to just speak to it, I think that's definitely going to be the future. Would you agree?
Yes, I do. And
Yeah.
our idea is basically to take that to push it to the limits, because behind the scenes, even the instructions are actually converted into code by the models. And you can see every day, every week, the models are getting smarter and smarter. So the conversation interface basically means you're leveraging the power of the LLM behind the scenes to get to what you want, right? If you need code to be written, it will write it for you. If it needs access to data, analyze data, the LLM, you use the power of the LLM to do that. And to define the workflow, again, let the LLM do that for you. And then you have a mechanism by which you can kind of take a snapshot of it once the solution is in place. So we are training our agents to take that snapshot. Let's say you figured out a way to solve a problem by chatting with it. Now, once you reach that endpoint, that chat is saved, And we have agents that analyzes that and figures out how to convert that into a flow so that it will be more deterministic next time. A problem is already solved, just apply the same thing again and again, right? So it's all done through conversation. I think pretty much all the systems out there are going to become more conversational. Both, I can say, most of the apps in your phone will be like the search button will go from the top to the bottom,
Yeah.
with a mic on the side, right? And you go to, say, for example, Walmart app, you'll say, okay, just order the last, reorder the last order for me, but don't order the milk. Done,
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be
right?
like on DoorDash, just voice orders from your
Yeah,
couch instead of
exactly.
doing any work. Um, okay, very interesting. In the last 5 minutes, I'd love to talk a little bit more about the high level of the business. So, like, how many team members do you have across both organizations right now?
We just crossed 60,
Okay, wow,
60, and about 25% of that is working on AI.
amazing. And what has changed for you as a CEO, like crossing, I'm sure, kind of that 50 mark of employees and having a larger team? What have you had to do differently in order to scale the business to that level?
Getting to 50 was tough. Hiring is tough in this market. So the AI definitely helped us. Because if you look at the way we reached 50 versus after 50, right, the slope kind of flattened because we started using AI on our own, right? Both as in prompt engineering as well as creating agents, right? So suddenly, the way, and we figured it out on our own, is that, hey, instead of hiring more skilled employees, now what we ended up doing is train our current employees to leverage AI, right? And become either good prompt engineers or create and manage agents. And we soon realized that all of us, I think it's just not us, every business out there will be managing both human and AI employees or agents, right? And we are doing that, and we can see that, like, every time a new requirement comes to us, it's mostly somebody who is going to manage a bunch of agents.
Yeah. So
That's
they
that's
might
that's
not be
that's the
doing
role,
anything.
right, we are looking for now, right? When we want to, so you need to learn. I think as a somebody who's looking for a job, you have to know how to use AI. And as an employer, you need to figure out how do you combine AI and human skills to solve a problem.
Sure. And what is like the goal for, I guess, both businesses? Because obviously they flow together very nicely. What's kind of the goal as like an entrepreneur for you? Do you plan to exit both of these businesses? One of them, is it kind of up in the air? You like, it seems like you like running both of them right now.
Yes, we are actually enhancing our cloud business using AI, and I think there is a lot more to be done there. So we plan to continue to grow. We plan to raise probably next year for the AI part of it. Right now we are building as many use cases or as many agents as possible, and we are creating all these. We are in search of these use cases where we can convert them into agents. Every agent that we develop, there is also IP being contributed to the core platform, right? I think that's of value. So, and we want to pitch that probably sometime next year and raise more money. Right now, the AI initiative is completely funded by the other business.
Okay. And what do you think is the biggest challenge, like, as you're growing? I'm sure now it's less of like you're trying to hit a exact revenue target like it was at the beginning and you just see the potential and you want to keep pushing it. But as you're chasing those goals, whatever they are, like, what are the couple challenges that are making it very hard to scale right now?
So right now, the AI. So we are trying to figure out what's the right time to pitch and find the ideal customer profile, right? That kind of varies because a lot of people want to do AI. At the same time, there is market condition is kind of they want they're doing more pilots rather than production ready, but AI is capable of doing production. So it's just the time where people are just getting used to, or most of the C-level folks that we talk to, they want to do pilots, but they haven't identified the right use cases yet, right? So the challenge always been, okay, finding the right customer, or finding the right C-level person who has the budget with a clear use case that you want to cover, right? A lot of them want to try something, but they didn't figure out where to go, right? So that is our challenge mostly, working with once we get a lead, it suddenly is like, what is the right use case for a pilot? And that is it takes time to figure out, work with them and figure out, where is the right opportunity here, right? And once they start, one thing for sure, once they see the agent working, suddenly it's like, wow, this is right, this is awesome. So we were able to make quick progress after that, but till getting to that first contract, it takes some time because it's brand new technology for most of them, and they haven't, because they're not, some of, even for me, when I first saw the agent working, I was like, wow, this is not what I expected. This is far beyond what I was expecting. So that's the same thing, right? People doesn't have a good understanding of how and where agents can be used. So that part is actually slowing things down a little bit. So it's challenges. It actually poses some challenges for people like us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And as we're wrapping up, where can people find out more about your businesses? Where can they connect with you? Yeah, where can they find you?
So I'm in LinkedIn. You can always find me at LowTouch.AI. And I have my LinkedIn link out there. So just reach out to me, and I'll be happy to chat and
Awesome.
brainstorm. So we're looking for new ideas, new use cases. Always happy to chat.
We'll put the links in the chat as well if you're watching. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Austin. Thanks for having me.